At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines regardless of gender and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can code your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades with Cassie and Heather. Super excited today to have Stephanie Postell with Anchor Heating and Air with us today. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, how are you? I'm so glad to be here. It's been a while.
I know. We were talking like pre-show about like, girl, we're not going into the whole, how did you get into the space and what did you do and all of those things, because I feel like, you know, Steph and it's like Stephanie, Heather and I, we've been around. And so I think we've kind of made the name for ourselves. And I don't want to discount that there's probably people listening. This might be your first exposure to Steph, but if it is, then definitely she's one.
Awesome. All right, go back to that episode. There's a previous episode where you can learn that story.
Yeah, for sure. So how is Charleston?
Not hot enough for my liking at the current recording of this. It's been a slow start. It's funny, you know, we had a great April and we really had a pretty good May. We thought we were going to have a better May, but you know, our standards are high. But June's slow. We're 84 today, 82 actually right now. It's looking like end of next week we might be in the 90s. We didn't plan for that. I'm sorry. We are weather driven and at some point it's our time to get it and we're supposed to be getting it right now and we're just we're not there yet. So, but we're prepared. we got all the people and all the things that we need. So we just eat.
I think that Heather, Kaylee, and myself specifically hearing that right now, we love to hear that because I hate to hear it, but love to hear it because we're feeling the same way. We're prepared. We have our people. And compared to like last June was crazy. But I think this is something that this is a good topic because I think sometimes we all like, this is our 10th, 11th summer in business and we are like all guilty of forgetting what we've been through. So like I started thinking about this last night. I specifically remember last August in 2024 thinking, why is August so slow right now? It had slowed down. And Ryan Harris from Harris in wherever he's at, New Jersey, I think he was one of the people that said to me like, well, did you have a heavy June? And I went back and was like, oh yeah, we did. So it's like you have a heavy June or you have a heavy August, but you don't normally have both.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And even back to like 23, June of 23 here in Charleston was the same way. Like the average high was like 83 that year.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I think it happens, but I know that year also we had a longer summer, so it made up for it. But it's still when you're ready for that, like, let's go, let's, you know, be crazy and have, you know, be booked out a week and all that stuff. Like, I'm ready for that.
Well, right. And Heather and I can tell you that specifically, we're busy. I mean, like we're busy enough, right? And we're not having problems keeping people busy, but why are we not like balls to the wall? Like, what?
Yes, absolutely. Same.
That's we've been through it over and over and over again, and it hits different every year. And so like we get ready already like, okay, it's going to hit us, and then it doesn't hit us, and then we're like, wait, where's the weather?
Right. I think it's so funny when people are like, stuff like you said, like, we are weather driven. I want to like ban that statement from people saying, quit depending on the weather. Bro, we're going to depend on the weather. We have to. We're part-time weathermen. That's like meteorologists, dude. We know, like, so yes, we are planning on the other things. Of course, we're maintenance schedules booked. Of course, all those things. But like, that heat was supposed to be here.
Yes, right. Well, we have made ourselves not weather driven in the fact that we have smoothed out the highs and lows, right? Because contractors that don't plan, they're dying right now because this is all they depend on. For us, this high, balances out one of our lows. So we've been busy. Our people have worked 40 hours all year. Our teams have been busy, but this is our time to get the extra so that, we can do some extra things. And such in that way, we are weather driven, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good topic too, because a lot of smaller contractors are like, well, we only make money in the summertime. And then we have, we've talked about for years, the shoulder season. How did we combat that? I mean, I think it kind of went back to 2019, 2020, when really people started selling memberships, because you have to create the demand when the demand isn't there because the weather isn't there. So the age old adage of, like, we're waiting for the weather. Well, we've got to fill in those gaps. And the successful contractors have filled in those gaps with memberships and creating opportunity and outbounding and all the things we've been talking about for years. And the ones that are not growing haven't figured that out yet. And I think that's a really good point to make for new listeners.
One thing that I
are red. What are you going to do when the phone isn't ringing? You've got contractors going, I can't get over $1 million. I can't get over $2 million. Like, we've been stagnant for 10 years. Okay, you're doing something wrong. Let's be honest, you're doing something wrong. Those of us who have figured out, like, we have to fill in those gaps. How are we going to do it?
We're all like still guilty of like stuff like you're saying, we're waiting for that like crazy town a little bit. But one thing that was really hard for me, and I remember this a couple years ago, I would be like, why isn't this crazy right now? And it was because I was like, oh, we've never actually been properly staffed. Like, this is actually looks like when you're properly staffed, right?
Right. 100%. Well, and we've actually been struggling lately not being as busy, because then we're putting in a unit tomorrow, right? Or we're putting in a unit the next day. And when you're super busy, you have time to plan for those kinds of things, right? Like, somebody's got time to look at the job 3 times and, where everybody's got eyes on it. When you're selling a job for tomorrow and it sold last night at 5:00, the chances of it not being prepared as well are higher. And so we literally just got out of our manager's meeting and I was like, what is going on? Like, why are we not as busy, but we're crazier? People are calling David and, the processes and stuff that we have in place, they're in place, but they don't have all of the 3 stops that we have in place to get all those things done, because it sold last night at 5:00 and it's going in today. And I personally don't like being in that situation. I'd much rather do that.
I can tell you that we're the opposite. We are very good next day install, and we are very good. It sold, like, we had a sale 2 nights ago that came through. Service Titan text message came through at like 11:27. I was like, what in the world? And it was like a multi-system, and it started the next day. And our ducks are in a row because that's our model is next day install.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. But when we book out, that's when we screw it up.
Yeah.
If we're too far out, because it's like we're looking at that job, that next job.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're too far out, we have too much time to think about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like these conversations are so fun because it's the differences of the models, and there are different models that work, and there are different models that people run and still do the exact same business. I think there's a lot of similarities of Quality and Anchor, a lot for sure, but there are definitely different models. And especially too, like, it really depends like your region and where you're at, what you're doing.
Right. Well, the thing is, we've done some things differently recently where we have some techs in the field that are selling now. We call them our comfort techs. We've had great success with that. I never believed in that model as an operations manager because we just didn't have the right people who could do it. And we've got 3 guys right now that are doing excellent. They have very high conversion rates, but at the same time, like, then that's a growth thing that we have to make sure we have all of those issues worked out. The other thing that I have to always step back with us is that we have grown so rapidly, and maybe we're not doing 0 to 25 million in a year, because I don't believe that crap crap anyway, but whatever. We've grown sustained double over, every year. And that comes with its own problems. And sometimes I have to look back and say, no matter whether we have great processes, and we do, and we have great people, we do, but we're dealing with issues that people deal with over years and months. And so we have to constantly be pivoting and looking back and going, okay, is it our process? Is it our people? Are we holding people accountable? Maybe we got slack and we're not holding them accountable. Maybe we're putting pressure on the sales because we're not booked out. So they're like, sell at any cost. And for us, absolutely, we want to get the sale, but ultimately those people are going to be our customers forever. Our reputation is tied to that. And it's still always got to be the anchor way. And so backing up, there's some times where I'm like, I don't want that sale. Like, I'd rather not have the sale if we can't do it right. So, we have to go back and look at that and see what we have to fix. And I think great contractors do that. David and I take a lot of it on ourselves. Doesn't mean that we don't know how to run a company and that we're micromanaging, because we've asked ourselves that, but it just means that we have to empower our people better. And maybe we have to go back and reinforce what the process is, because listen, the process got us here and it was pretty damn good. Right. And so going back and looking at that and just making sure that we didn't forget to tell somebody something. The other thing is we brought on some new people. And so we have to, things that we've done and just taken for granted and said, we'll just do that ourselves. We have to be good at showing them how that's now their responsibility. Right. And you have to bring it to us. Great thing, in your business, I've always ordered the toilet paper. Well, guess what? While we were out of town, we got down to one roll and there is no toilet paper. And I'm like, one, do we need a process for that? Or who around here is going to say, y'all, we all have credit cards that say Anchor on them. Somebody's going to order the toilet paper and you figure it out, right? That is a great analogy for the office, because what also happened is then we didn't have twist lock for the flue pipes, and our installers walked in and there was like, there's no twist lock left. And David's like, they're out on the shelf. There were 10 of them. Well, how come no installer said, hey, I've got the last twist lock and y'all need to order more? Like, it's the same thing. Yeah. Y'all have to be in charge of this, because then you get pissed that you can't, wipe your butt, but like, you could have ordered toilet paper,
I always say that we grew faster than our brain. So sometimes we have to go back and make a process. Yeah. But I do have to crack up about this because I have always ordered the toilet paper. And recently, when our daughter was in the hospital, we were off for like a little bit. And I happened to get this message of a Sam's order on my email. And I pull it up and I see that the Sam's order, and it had some things on there that we needed, but it had toilet paper. And I was like, whoa, guys, back up. We don't order that kind of toilet paper at quality. Like, we wouldn't be able to afford it. Okay. So like, we're getting 2-ply for sure, but we got to get a different one. And they were cracking up because I was literally like, guys, we will be like this is way too high-end toilet paper for us. So that literally happened like 2 weeks ago. So I'm cracking up that you're like the toilet paper, but that's exactly right. Like, there are some things that I'm like, why am I still in charge of this? And I think as we're developing leaders, because we have a lot of new leaders, and we just had a leadership meeting this morning, and I was saying, guys, like, number one, we're going to start developing you as a leader. Number two, we're not always right. If there's something that you think isn't like we need to change, then bring it up. Like, you don't just have to do it because we said that's what the process was, because that was probably a really good process for 4 people, but maybe not now,
When there's rapid growth it's so hard to figure out, like, with the rapid growth, who's going to do some of those things that were rudimentary at one time. But I mean, it's just, toilet paper is a great example. It's like, who's going to do that? I remember being this, small company and just doing all the things, and I knew everything about everything. And then as we grew, it's hard to figure out, okay, what do you get off your plate, and how do you determine who's going to do it, and how, when do you make that transition? And, I think a lot of us are going through that. And I know we're going through it at quality. It's like, okay, who's going to do what now? I mean, just the redelegation of duties is so important to, circle back around and reevaluate when you're going through a trajectory of growth.
Absolutely. There's no question. And I think we also, we're entrepreneurs and we want to do big things, and we don't always think about the best time to do stuff. Like, we're implementing new sales proposal software in June. Like, whose idea was that? But whatever, we've done it, we're doing it. Like, but in that whole thing, like, there's this whole that's a really different process, right? And then bringing other people in it, and we've controlled what we have been using and all of that. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off, and like, you just got to do it. it, because you can just get in that analysis paralysis after a while, and like then you won't grow. And one of our core values is that we love innovation. Like, we're going to do that, and so best time to do that is now. And that's kind of what we've chosen to do there too. But still got to have a process
That
around
sounds like a Cassie Pound method, Heather. Don't you think? Right there, Heather all the time will be like, "So, like, when are we implementing this?" And I'm like, "Now."
Actually, I already did. I forgot.
I'm like, all right, when is the best time to do this? We're just going to do it. Like, I don't know, move a building in May, move an entire building, and then sell a building, and then buy a new building.
Yep, that there's just sometimes it's just like you have to go with the flow is right in front of you, and don't miss out on an opportunity because you are waiting for a process. I think that the best growth that we've had is that I didn't wait for someone to give me permission or to talk me out of it, because sometimes people let someone talk them out of it, and it's like it's already decided.
There's so much wisdom in that, to be honest, and not to make it personal, but when David and I started dating, we didn't tell anybody for like almost 3 months. Like, no one knew that we were dating. It was the most amazing time of our relationship because we had no outside pressure of anyone to give us an opinion, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have been dating. Like, we just didn't tell anybody that we were. And so, but I think that's the thing, is that people, once they find out and you make it public, then they feel like they can give you their opinion about it. Right. And like, I didn't need anybody's opinion. I knew it was right. I knew what I was doing, but you can hone in on all of the intricacies and the good things about that because you decided and it's right. And I think there's so many times when we have thoughts about, oh, should we buy a building? Should we add on? Should we start plumbing? Should we do this? And everybody's like, oh, no, that's going to be hard. You shouldn't do that. That's going to take your attention off of this or that. Well, you know what? Like, okay, if that happens, we'll back up and then we won't do it. Right. Or we're just going to go ahead and it's going to be amazing. And I'll just be like, I told y'all this was going to be amazing. And here it is, So.
That's another exact. Like, there's sometimes, because I think sometimes that's why we have to recognize the owner or the entrepreneur and the other leaders, right? Because sometimes it's like we've gotten to this point because we've trusted Oscar and I's decision, or we've trusted I did this TikTok the other day and it was like, well, how did you get the confidence to do that? And it's like delusion, of maybe because I have high anxiety and I thrive in chaos, but sometimes creating my chaos gives me safety. And that's just true. I mean, that's a trauma response of a lot of things. But long story short, like, the decisions that we have made as owners have sometimes seem very like erratic or wasn't thought through or whatever. But every single time we had a plan. Opening garage doors was another one of the things that, several people were like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. This is why, blah, 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 blah. Don't do it. I didn't ask you to do it with me. Like, I'm just telling you this is what we're doing. Now, my inbox is full of.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, oh, because you're seeing that's working, right? And so enough to try new things, or you can't be scared too much to try new things, but then you just have to trust your gut and remember that you got and then if it didn't work, just be willing to be like, yo, it didn't work and I moved on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and success over time gives you that confidence, right? Because fortunately or unfortunately, where it used to be, oh God, if I lost $100, that would be terrible. Not that I want to lose money, but like $100,000 is not going to break us, right? At this point, like, we can make that mistake, but know that I've already got it pretty figured out. So that's probably not going to happen, right? Like, I did it at $100. I did it at $10,000 and I probably made that mistake. It gives me the confidence to put another few zeros on it and be like, we'll be good, and I wouldn't chance this if I didn't think that something great was going to come out of it, because now I realize and I know that it's not just me and David and our family that have to be taken care of. It's the other 27 or 28 families that are depending on us making really great decisions. And our bar is high. Like, our bar is way higher than most people's, right? And so even if we fail, like, we're doing better than like 90% of the people out there. And so there is some confidence there. But we still know what our responsibility is too.
Yeah. And that's something like, Heather, we've talked about too, of the obligation that we have to the employees employees that work for us. So my brain is constantly moving on what we can add next or what we can implement or the next piece of technology or the next piece of this or that or whatever, because I know that I'm responsible for these people's lives. And if we just stick, like we have a company locally that they only sell basically 15 SEER 80% systems, that's their model, right? It's like, because that we want to stay ahead with the technology, with the options, with the opportunity for the customer. Like we're in a tech driven world. Like we're talking about AI potentially taking over things. Like think about everything in your house that is technology. I swore never in my life would we get rid of cable or like or satellite TV and go to YouTube TV. And we have YouTube TV. Like if you're not thinking about those things
right
on the different pieces of technology, like I used to have a pretty hardcore opinion of AI and I still do to some degree. I do think that there's a human piece that's going to always be present, but it's because I had really framed, like walled off as AI being just like taking over specific jobs. And I wasn't looking at it as like what AI could do. But if you look around your house of what is just in your house, right, of your current house that has AI capabilities or has technology in it, right? Your TV, your radios, your garage door open. My garage door opener has a freaking camera on it right now.
Yeah.
So if you're not thinking about it, like our equipment, our technology is going to continue to grow.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think the thing is about that, that's a different model. And maybe that model does work for that company. That's not probably my customer either, right? Because you're not necessarily looking to grow. And if that's the only offering that you have, you're not really doing what's right for the customer. Like you're choosing for them what's going to be good in their home. And like, that's not who we are. So that is okay too. But I think it goes back to the whole conversation across the industry where, when companies try to compare themselves to each other, you don't have all my information, right? So if I got out there and said, I do this and I did millions and millions and millions, and then you're like, how'd you do that? Well, I mean, you have to know what my model is. You have to know what my area is. You have to know, like, are you me? Have you lived in your city your whole life and you were a PTA mom for 20 years and you have this following? Like, you can't look at what I'm doing and compare it to what you're doing unless you have all that information. And again, there's somebody for everybody. What I have to know is like, there are people in Charleston, South Carolina that want the level of quality that Anchor Heating and Air provides. And so there's always going to be customers for us because they are going to want to do business with the level of company that we are. And sometimes, it's not everybody. A lot of people want to, they might not be able to, and that's okay too. So yeah, innovation is huge for us and just the next best thing, but also making sure we're taking care of our people.
Yeah, that's so true about you don't know, like we always say, you don't know our magic. Yeah. You don't know what keeps this going, but like you don't know why it started and how it started. And you can try to replicate, you can even try to tell the same story. But you're right, like I'm from this town. There's so many pieces that like you can't replicate that. You can't even try, like how deeply rooted we are into this space. You just can't do it, and that's okay. There's plenty of people that just like pop up shop. Our new HR director the other day, she was like, I have never seen, she's like, I know it's because I'm in this business now, but she's like, I have never seen all of these heat and air company names. And I said, oh, sister, it's June. Those will all be gone by September.
Hey, and listen, like I said this morning, hopefully there are some that are gone by the end of the year because they're not serving customers properly. They're not doing the right thing. They're not doing it and they're selling for way too cheap for services that they can't provide. And so there's some karma out there, right? Like that good, but it makes it that much harder for
they can't stand behind what they're selling because they're
Heather, we always have the weirdest luck with Heather's internet here lately.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Heather, like you said, they can't stand, she's like, she's like, I don't know. It's so weird. But yeah, like what you're saying, Heather, they can't stand behind what they're saying. Someone said, I saw someone post on Facebook the other day of, I need a heat and air company that doesn't charge, whatever. And I know they're a former customer of ours. Yeah. And they're a former customer of ours. And I looked at their quotes of what we had quoted for them. And it was cheap. It was like, honestly, we should probably raise our price. And especially with the warranty that they were going to be getting. And whenever we went out to quote what they needed was a Sunday at 8 p.m. Right now. And it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
And so,
I need those posts on Facebook that are asking for, I need a cheap, reasonable HVAC person or plumbing person. It's like, okay, cheap, reasonable, like,
Right.
it doesn't equate.
And what happens though is like, we went out and quoted a guy, almost $4,000 in repairs on a system that he put in 5 years ago. And he told our technician, he said, I literally bought this system from this guy. He said, and then the next day he came by, dropped off a guy that didn't have the right clothes on. He had to borrow the owner's clothes. He didn't have shoelaces on in his shoes. And he dropped him off in the unit, and they put in the unit, and they've had trouble with it every day since. And so now here we are. And listen, it lasted 5 years. So good for you, but it's been trouble time again. And so now we're going back $4,000 in repairs to not even get it back to where it needs to be. And the guy's like, well, what did I know? I called the guy, right? Well, now you know, because it's going to be way more expensive. And look at all the money that you've spent. And what people don't value is their time and comfort, because you just want to look at a dollar amount. How many days has your rental been down? How many days have you been hot in your house? How many days have you been bothered by not having, proper comfort? But like, was it worth whatever cheap price you got? I value my time and my comfort.
What grinding yourself to death at that point? Yeah. It's just always a little bit more money, a little bit more money. If you spend the money up front and you buy the value and you buy the quality,
There's a plug.
you're going to get what you initially wanted. It just may not be for the cheap price that you were expecting.
Well, cheap is expensive in the long run, and whenever you go ahead and you nickel and dime the repair, you're not taking into account the utilities that you're paying that are higher the entire time. And then you still end up paying for, in the long run, the same thing. It's just which way you look at it. And so I think that's important.
Well, you want to be comfortable today, or do you want to just keep, paying a little bit more money? I mean, this is why we offer financing. It's like, just buy what you want and pay for it over time. You're going to do it anyway. If you buy the cheaper price, you're just going to have somebody in your house.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Heather, you keep cutting out again. I don't know what in the world's going on. But okay, so you're changing. I wanted to go back to, you're going to a new sales proposal. You're going to a new sales proposal software. What made you do that?
Yeah.
I think you were using a Sigma. I'm like intrigued.
Yeah. So, I don't want to name any names. We can talk about it later, but we've had a great time with the software that we've been on. And actually, at both companies, we've used it. But what we see over time is that some of the things that are quotes that we've lost are because we go in and give the whole solution, right? When we're going in and putting, a split gas system in our area, what we find typically is that the zone system is going to go out 3 weeks after we put in your new system. Like it just does. And that's been my experience for 12 years, right? And so we have gotten really good at saying, you have a split gas system, you have a zone system. It's the same age as your current system. You need to replace your zone system. Well, then what happens is the next guy comes in and says, you don't need your zone system. Don't worry about that. And so they take $2,000 off. So now their quote's $2,000 or more cheaper than ours. And then we lose that job. Well, we know that they end up probably getting a zone system, right? Well, we've gotten good at saying, we're going to propose it all. And if you don't want it, then we'll take it off, but it's going to have to say declined, right? We told you that you needed a zone system, but you declined it. So that's one issue. Well, in our software, we don't have the ability to turn those things off or on unless the customer calls us back and says, oh, I want to go forward with you, but I want to take this off. So the new software gives, I guess, the ownership to the homeowner, and we can add these things to our quote, but now they can toggle them on and off. So, and it will change the price immediately for them. So when they're in the home and they're comparing one unit to our unit, if they want to get that lower price or whatever it is, they can just turn that zone system off. They've declined. We know it was on there to begin with. And now they're looking at apples to apples, and maybe we get the sale because they liked us, our value's better, all that stuff, but they're doing it at 11 o'clock at night. They couldn't reach out to us right then. They want to make a decision, but now they're able to get, us without that. So there's just been some things where, sometimes we want to provide you a solution, not an ultimatum. And so if we say, hey, we're going to add this indoor air quality on there, again, it's on our quote and they're looking at the bottom line. They're not looking at, I guess I don't need that, or I might not want that. This new software is giving us the opportunity to let them, maybe we didn't even add it, but it's on there as an option. And so they're like, hey, I like number one, I'm going to turn on that whole house Remy Halo. And now they upsold themselves. We didn't have to upsell them because they got to look at. So we're excited about that, or the customization that it's going to give us.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm always like, that cracked me up because you're like, who's going to change the sales proposal software right now? And like, I think last year in June we changed.
Yeah.
And we're just like, whatever works, it worked. What are there any new exciting things happening for Anchor or Steph coming up?
We're just trying to grow the best and fastest that we can. So we've got lots of, people. We've been very blessed that some people have reached out, read our reviews. They want to come work for us. So we're adding another technician Monday. We're adding another comfort advisor Monday. So I feel like we have all the people in place. So, what I would say across the board is we are so blessed with the most amazing team. It is the joy that David and I get. Like, don't get me wrong. We leave here and we want to burn the place down some days, but it's not because of the people, it's just hard, but the people make it so great. So again, the whole thing is we've been super blessed on that side. For us personally, we love the industry and we have gotten so much from it. I've been so blessed to speak on lots of stages and kind of give back that way. One of the things that I've done over the last couple of years is had a local women's business conference called She Means Business. And it's been so much fun getting women, where I got the opportunity to be on stages, wanting to do that for people locally and let them feel like how cool it feels for your headshot to be out there and, somebody be talking about you, because it's so hard as women for us to talk about ourselves. Right. And I love being able to be that cheerleader. So that's been really successful. What I'll tell you is that I have lots of contractors that have reached out to me and said, well, I want to send my wife, or we want to come to that. And I'm like, I appreciate it, but this is a local women's conference. Like, you'll love it. You're not going to get everything out of it. So, of course, because I always like to do more stuff, David and I are actually putting on a married couples business conference, and it is going to be in November, and we're calling it We Mean Business. And it is going to be exclusive. We're going to limit it to 60 couples. It is not marriage therapy. So please, if you choose to come, don't come for that reason, because you're not going to be happy. But hopefully by time this comes on, we'll have launched all of the registration and all of that kind of stuff. And we're just super excited. The conference is not Anchor, but it is contractor led. It is going to be vendors that we have used and had success with. So it's very authentic. And I think that, if you're married business couple running a trades business, I think you're going to have a great time and fun, and you're really going to learn a lot. So this is the first piece that I've talked about it. So you got the key. Yes. November 9th through the 11th out the Wild Dunes Resort here on Isle of Palms. And we got some fancy plans as far as parties. And if you know me and what I like to do, it's going to be an experience. So
hey, I think that
I want to know more about it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. But I think that different conferences like that are what we need. Like, we're all tired of going to the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know you didn't get to go because of the weather, but the thing back in January the
mastermind
that Eric had done, that was such a different experience than I was used to getting. And it was like so needed. Like, I just needed that time. And it was in Mexico. Like, I was like, hey, this is a really good idea. Like, things about it. Like, it was just like, it forced me to have some downtime too that I never get, but it was a really cool experience. So that's so cool. I'm excited to get the information. I wrote the dates down so I can just reserve that on my calendar.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be well worth it. I just, again, it's what you and I and Heather know so much is that it is about the networking and connection, because we're all busy that we don't have necessarily, we have great friends, but we don't get to hang out with them. Right. And so the times when we're at these conferences and stuff, the fun is when we're at the parties or at the bar and we're getting to talk about, oh God, you go through that and I go through that. And, I think this is going to be the opportunity to hear what people are doing and how they're doing it different. But maybe you find a mentor couple, or maybe you find an or, what you're going to hear will be some inspiration and you don't need the selling, right? If like what you hear, maybe one of the vendors ends up being somebody that you like, but they are going to, they're going to have a testimonial definitely from me and from, another couple that is there. But you'll know some of the names of the people that will be presenting, but you might not. And that's what I'm super excited about, is that there are people out there doing really great things as couples, which is challenging anyway, but they have not been on stages and they have a lot to offer. And so I've found some of them. Still have some holes to plug, but other than that, it's really just going to be a good time. And again, if you know me and David, there's probably going to be bourbon and fun and parties involved in it. So,
well, I'm excited for you. That's going to be a really cool opportunity, and I can't wait to see play out. And I hopefully be a part of it. Send me the link, girl. Send me the link. Awesome. Well, Steph, it was so exciting, and to have
and it's just amazing.
I talk to you all the time, so I feel like when we jump on call like this, it's kind of like, hey, girl, I was just in a text with you,
Which is so great. I'm so blessed by your friendship, and it's just great to have women like you that are, one, bringing a light to other women in our industry, but it is a challenge. It is a different place to be in, and having a tribe around you of people that are cheerleading for you and supporting you definitely makes a big difference. So as leaders and as women, we have to be finding those ladies out there that need us or need us to help them find their tribe. And I know that your podcast does that. So thanks for having me as part of it today.
For sure. Thank you so much.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.